It's a bizarre cosmic joke that the very mechanism designed to keep our ancient ancestors from being eaten by something toothy now primarily manifests as a crippling fear of public speaking or an existential dread over unpaid utility bills. If you find yourself frequently wondering how humanity managed to survive millennia of genuine, immediate threats and appreciate a deep dive into the paradoxical workings of our own minds, consider subscribing. Because for tens of thousands of years, what we now label as anxiety wasn't a pathology. It was a sophisticated, life-saving neurobiological alarm system, a mandatory operating system update that propelled Homo sapiens from vulnerable prey to apex predator.
The primitive world didn't offer second chances for the blissfully unworried. A moment of serene contemplation could easily end with one becoming a nutrient cycle for a rather enthusiastic carnivore. This omnipresent tension, this subtle hum of anticipatory dread, was the brain's constant threat assessment, a survival imperative that prioritized caution, vigilance, and rapid response over any fleeting sense of calm. Our ancestors' relentless scanning of the horizon, their heightened sensitivity to rustling leaves or distant howls, wasn't a symptom of generalized anxiety disorder. It was strategic reconnaissance, a perpetually active early warning system.
Without this internal, incessant nagging, the human lineage would have become a footnote in paleozoological history, just another species that failed to fully appreciate the nuanced dangers of a world brimming with sharp claws and even sharper wits. The physiological architecture of this ancient anxiety was a marvel of evolutionary engineering, designed for raw, immediate impact. When a threat registered, be it the shadow of a predatory bird or the scent of a rival tribe, the amygdala, a primal almond-shaped node deep within the temporal lobe, would instantly hijack the system. Adrenaline and cortisol would flood the bloodstream within milliseconds, a cocktail for extreme performance. Heart rate would surge, pumping oxygenated blood to major muscle groups, preparing for explosive flight or desperate confrontation. Respiration would quicken, saturating the blood with oxygen, fueling the desperate metabolic demands of an emergency. Peripheral vision would narrow, focusing all available processing power on the immediate danger, a tunnel vision that filtered out irrelevant distractions. Blood would shunt away from non-essential functions like digestion and immune response, redirecting precious resources to where they were most critically needed: survival. This wasn't merely a feeling. It was a profound, systemic reconfiguration of the entire organism, turning a contemplative gatherer into a hyper-efficient survival machine. The acute stress response wasn't a bug, it was a feature, a non-negotiable prerequisite for navigating an environment where lethal surprise was the default setting. The individual who failed to experience this profound physiological shift was, quite simply, less likely to procreate. Beyond the immediate, visceral response to overt danger, anxiety played an equally crucial, if more subtle, role in shaping complex human societies. The fear of social ostracism, a profound form of ancestral anxiety, acted as a powerful coercive force, ensuring adherence to group norms and fostering communal cohesion. An individual's reputation within the nomadic band wasn't merely a matter of pride. It directly impacted their access to shared resources, protection from external threats, and reproductive opportunities. To be cast out was, for all practical purposes, a death sentence. This deep-seated aversion to social disapproval, a form of primal social anxiety, compelled cooperation, encouraged reciprocal altruism, and reinforced the intricate web of social contracts necessary for collective survival. Furthermore, a more proactive, anticipatory anxiety drove critical resource management. Worrying about future droughts, lean hunting seasons, or harsh winters wasn't maladaptive. It spurred the careful caching of food, the meticulous observation of seasonal patterns, and the development of rudimentary agricultural practices. The anxious foresight to prepare for impending scarcity gave groups a decisive advantage over those who lived purely in the moment, cementing long-term survival through deferred gratification and strategic planning. This anxiety became the unseen architect of human civilization, silently shaping our earliest institutions and economic behaviors. The enduring legacy of this ancestral anxiety is etched into our very neurobiology and genetic code. Brain regions like the amygdala, often dubbed the fear center, and the prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive functions like planning and decision-making, operate in a delicate, evolutionarily refined dance. Neurotransmitters like serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine, now frequently targeted by modern psychopharmacology, all played crucial roles in modulating vigilance, threat assessment, and behavioral responses. A genetic predisposition towards higher levels of vigilance, while perhaps inconvenient in a modern office environment, was an invaluable asset on the savannah.
Individuals who inherited a more sensitive threat detection system, those whose brains were perpetually on high alert for novel stimuli or subtle environmental shifts, were inherently more likely to notice the distant movement, register the anomalous sound, or recall the exact location of safe water sources and treacherous terrain. This enhanced pattern recognition, coupled with superior spatial memory under stress, was not merely beneficial, it was often the singular difference between life and death. The neural circuitry that now contributes to our generalized unease was once a finely tuned instrument, honed over millennia to maximize the odds of genetic propagation.
Our current propensity for worry is, in essence, a direct inheritance, a neurological blueprint passed down from ancestors who worried their way to survival. The profound irony, then, is that the very neurobiological architecture that ensured our lineage's persistence has become a significant source of contemporary suffering. Our ancient survival system, perfected over millions of years to respond to immediate, tangible threats, the snarling predator, the encroaching fire, the rival tribal raid, is now constantly triggered by abstract, chronic stressors for which there is no immediate fight or flight solution. Mortgage payments, social media scrutiny, job insecurity, and even the sheer volume of global news constitute a constant barrage of perceived threats, activating the same primal alarm bells.
The adrenaline surges, the heightened cortisol, the tunnel vision, all are still present, but instead of catalyzing a life-saving escape or confrontation, they manifest as chronic fatigue, digestive issues, or incapacitating panic attacks. Our primitive brain, an evolutionary masterpiece, is now tragically mismatched with the complexities of the 21st century. The vigilance that saved us from saber-toothed cats now simply keeps us awake at 3 a.m., replaying awkward conversations.
Humanity's greatest evolutionary triumph, a finely calibrated threat detection system, has effectively trapped us in a perpetual state of readiness for dangers that rarely materialize in a physically consequential way, turning our greatest protector into our greatest tormentor.